Hey, I'm Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, and this is what I did last week. I had some more time to play, but I didn't get around to doing my Mythic Plus until the weekend, where I had a pretty rough time. There were a bunch of disbands, there were a couple of completed but not timed Mythic Pluses, and just overall, I was myself having a really hard time. I was just playing like absolute garbage. Like that first pack, Castigio Borealis, for some reason I can't see the frontal cone, so I would die to that frontal, respawn, run into that trash pack, and completely forget like a goldfish that that thing happened, and then another cone would kill me. Or the second last boss in that dungeon, for some reason I always forget that there's two waves that come out, and I would keep dying to the second wave. So there were a couple times throughout the weekend where I had to log off and go do something else because I was getting pretty annoyed with myself and just the game in general. There was one siege I actually did where we had like 7 minutes to go before the last boss, and I thought, oh great, this is going to be another timed 10 key, awesome. We get to the last boss and then we wipe. Suddenly we're not going to time it anymore, so we go again and we wipe like within the first section before the second tentacle dies. And then someone says they have to allegedly go to work, and so the run ends. And I'm just sat there like, why does this keep happening? But I was able to complete one timed 10 key, which is a stone vault. This is a 10 I did not have done, so I got a portal for that, and with that, I finally got over 2,500, getting me my Keystone Hero achievement. I started the week at 2479 rating, and I'm ending it at 2506, so an increase of 27. One thing I did too, which I've been talking about for like months at this point, but never actually got around to until this weekend, was going through Warcraft logs and seeing how other warriors play. Because my DPS was all over the place, like sometimes I'd be below the tank, with the tank, top DPS, middle of the pack, average with a group. There was no consistency, and I didn't know what I was doing wrong. On top of that, I wasn't sure how to utilize my cooldowns, because what I was doing is I was trying to have some cooldowns up for every pack. That way I had some good damage going out throughout the entirety and not just kind of relying on regular old damage. So I went through Warcraft logs and was very quickly able to spot what I was doing wrong, and that's the build that I have utilizes Thunderclap, and I was using Whirlwind to get the stacks to like do my AoEs, and everyone was popping all of their cooldowns as often as they had them. And the first dungeon after I did that, I was top DPS almost every single pull. Overall on the dungeon, I was ahead by a lot. And it was crazy how much of an impact just simply changing one part of my rotation had on my DPS. So that was exciting to see. I didn't do a whole lot more dungeons after that, but I am excited to continue doing that and seeing how my DPS actually is now that I know my rotation better. With my Warrior's gear, he went up just a little bit, going up to 626 item level. Like I said last week, I didn't do a whole lot of stuff, so there wasn't much in my vault, so I ended up just taking a socket piece for my head, I think. With that small increase, I went into a tier 11 delve. I got about 2 pulls in and got one shot by like 3 melee hits in the span of 0.1 seconds, and then decided to hearth, because I got immediately triggered. With my other character's gear, on my hunter, he started at 601.82 and is ending the week at 602.25. I was able to buy my last gladiator piece, so I don't have need for conquest anymore. At this point, I can slowly upgrade my pieces, but that's just going to take a while because like I said before, I just do the 2 raid bosses in LFR for a chance at the mount, and then my weekly vault, so there's not really a whole lot of crests going around, but just slowly leveling them up. Speaking of leveling up, I got my Resto Shaman to level 80 this week. With Warbound gear, I got up to about an item level of 531.81. The last few levels of that were really rough because of the scaling though. Like I was blowing all of my cooldowns and just spamming heals, and I just could not keep people up. And in time walking, these tanks are like pulling half the dungeon at a time, and I'm just sitting there like, oh god, you're gonna die. I haven't played them at 80 yet. I just need to copy a build from Wowhead or somewhere, figure out the proper rotation, and then slowly start getting into dungeons to get the achievements for healing mythics. My Pally is up to level 79. I'm slowly leveling him as well. He should get 80 today or this week sometime. The scaling for tanking is much easier than it was on my Shaman. Apart from leveling, one of the things that I did this weekend that took a few hours was working on the motorcycle secret thing. I've done all the 8 orbs that have been discovered so far and pressed the red button 1,000 times, so just waiting on the next stuff to be discovered. Overall, this was pretty fun. I really enjoyed it, especially this stuff at the Vault of the Wardens. That puzzle there was cool. I have no idea how anyone finds any of this stuff out. It's just crazy to me. The pet battle portion of this was something I one-shot. I had 2 of the 3 recommended pets, and then I used Glimmer as my other one. Apparently that was a stage that a lot of people were having troubles with, so I was happy to see that that didn't take me long. One thing too is that if you're waiting to get this done, I would probably recommend doing this sooner than later, because there's certain steps in the secret where you need certain items to be able to do a thing, and if someone else in the area has that item, it'll count for you having it as well. So while there are still people doing this now, it might be better to start doing it, so that way you're not having to farm out all of these items by yourself. Couple other things to talk about. I ran Dragon Soul on normal just because I've done it on heroic so many times. I figured that if there's anything else I need from Transmog, now's the time to do it because I'm never going to go back in there once I get the mount that I'm missing. And what I learned is that the normal version of Dragon Soul doesn't have the nerfs. I wasn't really paying attention to Altraxian trash, but the Drakes on Warmaster do not come every like 2 seconds. And then the ad on Spine of Deathwing still requires 9 stacks before you can blow up. So that was annoying, and I'll probably just stick to heroic moving forward. And then lastly, the trading post this month has so many good options. I wish I could buy them all or freeze more than just one item. Like, there's so many good ones. But I'm kind of bummed that I'm missing out on some really good ones. Like that 2-hander mace or whatever that looks like a present. It looks so cool. A couple of cool headpieces, but alas, I gotta wait. Speaking of the trading post, I'll just jump into the mounts that I got this week because both of them came from there. The first one is the Dim Cold Flame Core, which is a returning mount that I had not yet gotten. This is a really nice recolor of this model. I really like this mount. And then the new mount this month was the Twilight Sky Prowler, which again, I really like it. It's very cute. I love the purple, and the wings look really cool. For achievements this week, I started at 42,160. I got 45 more, so I'm ending it at 42,205. Because I got the last gladiator piece on my hunter, I was able to get the Forged Finery achievement, which is just to get the Season 1 set. I finally went and finished the Pandaria Safari achievement, which is to collect all the pets from Pandaria. I had a handful of these left after Mop Remix, and I've just kind of been pushing this can down the road and finally decided, whatever, let's just go get this done. So that's finally done. And then lastly, I got the Deforester achievement, which is the Dark Shore Warfront achievement that I was missing. That should be the last achievement that I needed for the BFA meta, so I should be getting that achievement as soon as it comes out, which is very exciting. The goal this week will be to continue trying to get at least one more 10 done. I'm only queuing for dungeons I don't have a 10 done in yet, so at this point I'm only queuing for City of Threads, Grim Batol, and Siege of Borealis. I'd like to spend some time on one of or both my Shaman and Paladin to try to slowly start getting them into Mythics, and then slowly picking away at some achievements as well. In other news, Home Alone is one of my favorite Christmas movies, and I don't think I've ever actually watched Home Alone 2, so I finally did that this past week, and I loved it. It was so funny. The whole sequence with the bandits might have actually even been funnier than the first movie. And then I watched a movie called Alone for Christmas, which the premise is essentially it's Home Alone, but with dogs. It's a very bad movie, but it's so funny. There were certain points in this movie where I started to wonder if I'm watching a horror movie or if I'm watching just a Christmas movie. There's dogs putting like very sharp objects up a dude's butt. At one point, that dude is hung up in the chimney and a fire is lit underneath him. I'm like, are these dogs okay? So I was chuckling pretty hard at some of these scenes. Plus the dogs are really cute, so that's always an easy win. Outside of that, I've been playing some more Rocket League lately. I haven't played that in a while, so just been doing some games here and there. I finished my placement games and I ranked probably the lowest I've been in forever. So I'm not too thrilled about that, but just, I guess we'll work my way up to what I'm usually at. But that is it for me. That's everything that I wanted to talk about this week. Let me know what's going on with you, whether it's in-game or not. If you didn't see my Friday video where I went over all the expansion meta achievements going back to Classic, click the video that's on screen now. There's some pretty funny name ideas in there, I think, and some pretty cool mount ideas, including possibly a spectral battle tank. Thanks for watching, I love you lots, I'll talk at you next week, take care,